Hi guys, I'm out again for another wild camp in the woods, and I've been making a bit of a shelter, something semi-permanent, something I can come back to over the next few months during the winter months. And what I've done is I've made a bit of a frame. I'll give you a look. Been coming along here on an evening, just doing a little bit each time, and what I plan on doing is just covering that with a bit of a tarp. That's it there, I had that stashed in the woods. As you can see, I've been collecting some firewood. Still got the fire reflector to build. Most of the stuff I've brought out with me today is just recycled materials or very cheap items you can get locally. Got a ground sheet from an old tent that was just left in the woods. The tent was totally ruined, so I cut that away. That'll act as my ground sheet. A couple of roll mats stuck together. They were part of the tent. And I've got that Aldi $2.99 tarp, 3 metre by 2 metres. And I've got a bit of a chair, or a stool I should say. It looks like an old pop crate or a milk crate. And I just got a bit of wood. So it's going to be a table, or put a bit of carpet on. It's a nice little stool. There's houses just maybe it's about a quarter of a mile along there, and the amount of stuff people just chuck over their back fence into the woods, it's disgraceful, you know. And there was a couple of pillows and a bed. I mean, I would have had the bed, but I couldn't carry that. I was going to make more of an elaborate shelter, but the kids come into this part of the woods every so often, and I know for a fact if they find this place, they'll just pull it to bits or destroy it, and it'll be a lot of hard work down the drain. And I've started collecting firewood. And a couple of piles there. Got my gear hanging up there. Got the new backpack, the Swedish LK35. I mean, my new axe. I might do a little bit of a mini review of my LK35. I've done one or two modifications to it. I brought me bin. No, that's not for putting my rubbish in. Although I've got some of my gear, an old washing line for cordage. I've tried to keep everything cheap and cheerful. Somebody made a comment on my channel saying they couldn't afford the expensive gear. Well, this just proves you don't need to spend a lot of money to be able to get out in the woods and enjoy a bit of camping. Everything here is recycled or bought relatively cheaply. The Swedish LK35, £15. You know, it cost about £5 for delivery, so it took about £20 for a backpack that'll last you years. And I mean, you don't have to buy the expensive sleeping gear either. I mean, you can get an army bivvy, I think maybe it's £10. You know, the army surplus are relatively cheap on eBay. You know, and like sleeping bags, you don't have to buy a down-filled bag. You know, when you go up in price with them sort of sleeping bags, you're paying for the fact that they're compact, and the down is the expensive part about it. So you don't have to go for a really compact sleeping bag. You can get a synthetic sleeping bag, 3 season, 4 season even. They'll be a lot bulkier, but you get them relatively cheaply. You don't have to spend the earth. I think I'm going to put that old tent ground sheet over the top of everything, because those pillars are wet and everything else is dirty, and even though I'm in a bivvy, I want to keep everything clean if I can. and it'd be an extra barrier from the moisture. Doesn't get much better than this. Wild camping on the cheap. I mean, it's a fantastic pack for the price. So as you can see there, it's got like a coat on the inside there. I've gone around with a seam sealer just in case it did leak, but it never did. Got the camel back in there. It's got this kind of drawer system. It's quite nice actually. The packs are issued, but I mean they're in mint condition. Not a mark on the material. It's called Euro material. Quite hard wearing. Thicker than me last pack anyway. The Caramel Sabre 35. It's a little bit lighter pack, but I find that the LK35 is just as comfortable, and it's a little bit heavy. I was put off by getting one at first because people say they were too heavy, but they're not really. Even a heavy pack doesn't feel heavy if it fits you and it's comfortable. But my other pack, the Caramel, that's been dead full. I got a fright there. That's just snapped off the tree, that. Where I am in this part of the woods, it's the only place that's reasonably flat, so I'm restricted really for where I can set up a camp. But there aren't any massive limbs. Well, there is one there, but if that fell, it would fall a little bit to one side of me. Just going to show you never know when something's going to fall down. You know, not even windy, it's calm. Just a very slight wind, but that's one reason why you should always look before you put up a camp, put up a tarp. Make sure there's nothing really big that, you know, that might fall on you in the night and make your lass a widow. Well, that's a bit more firewood anyway. Right, what was I doing? Oh, the pack. It's in mint condition. The frame needed a little bit of attention. It was a little bit of rust spots, especially on the bottom. You know, where it's probably been touching rocks or something like that. But I just painted it, rubbed it down. Got some hammerite. It's not as good as it used to be, the old stuff. Old hammerite used to dry really quick. This, man, beware, because it was still soft after a few days. I had to leave it for 2 weeks because I did paint it originally the first time, and I tried to put the straps and everything on too soon, and it was just, the paint was soft and it was coming off. So give it at least a couple of weeks, you know, and put it in a warm place to dry. I was going to spray it, and I was looking at the price of spray paint, so you had to buy the undercoat, the primer, and then the paint. And it was like, it's going to cost about £8 or something for 2 tins. I'm thinking the pack was only £15. So a small tin of hammerite, you know, it was half that price. I think it was £3 or £4, something like that. And plus I've got loads left for touch-ups. And I had some old combat pants, and I just took it was like a belt. I just wrapped that on, give it a bit of a handle. It didn't come with any caps on the top of them tubes, and water would have gotten in, so I just fashioned a couple out of wood, stuck them on, and I made this waist belt. Took us a few days, mind. It's the first time I've done it actually. I was looking at the price on eBay, and I think Alice Packs belts or something, only about £5, something like that, but then you had to pay like a tenner to get them for the postage and pattern, because I think they were coming from America. So they were talking £15 for a waist belt, which was the price of the pack. So I thought, well, I've got plenty of material, I'm going to have a go at sewing, making one myself. I actually took some pictures of it when I was building it, so I'll insert them in the video at some point. And I just like put a couple of D-rings. I had loads of webbing from an old Army Bergen. A little bit thin, and that padding in there is the same material off that roll mat. I just cut a bit off the end. So it's not going to win a beauty contest. I mean, you'll have to experiment with the dimensions and that, but there's like triangular shaped part of the frame where you just loop it through. And I've just to tidy it up, I put a couple of cable ties on. So with a few things lying around, you can quite easily make a belt. You know, these packs are great for customizing and taking to the next level. I like the fact that it's good. You know, some people say because it's such a small pack, it's 35 litres, that I actually think it's a little bit bigger than that, because me Caramore Sabre 35, that's a 35 litre, but I've had the same stuff in that pack and I've transferred the stuff to this pack, and I've still room left at the top. So I think this pack is slightly bigger than the 35 litres. Now you can see there, because the way the lid slopes down when it's raised slightly, it still sort of looks closed, you know. So I think that's why you can get a lot more in than 35 litres, because you could slightly overfill that, close it like that, you know, so you're getting a little bit more in. And I mean, it's not just that, I mean, it's got a lot of other interesting features. You can have your strap stuff to the top. I mean, it's got you can have a complete sleep system attached to that. You can put your axe, hang that down there, which is what I did actually. And these straps, you can actually strap something smaller underneath, or you can even extend the straps and, you know, and have something a lot larger strapped to the bottom. So you've got loads of options to be able to strap stuff to the outside of the pack, and also it's got lots of room on the inside. I've resisted sewing side pockets onto it, and I know a lot of people do that. I think if I was going to do that, I would put maybe molly straps on, so I could remove side pouches rather than having them permanently attached. But I feel that the pack, for me anyway, has got enough room for my needs. Even in the winter, I can strap a larger sleeping bag on the top, and there's also, you know, like I said, you can strap stuff to the bottom of it as well, and you can also hang stuff off the frame, you know, put the axe on the side or something like that. But I love it. It's a really good pack, and it's not gonna cost, you know, cost a fortune. Which gets back onto me philosophy that I mentioned before: you don't need to spend a lot of money to be able to come out in the woods and enjoy a bit of camping. Everything can be done, you know, relatively cheaply. And I just made the chair from a dumpy bag, the kind that the builders merchants use, that put the gravel and the sand in. And I just made a tripod from 3 bits of hazel and did a tripod lashing. Had some old coaxial cable, satellite cable, found that in the woods actually. And all I did was made a few holes and threaded the cable through. Didn't have to do much with the bottom because it's already got a loop in. Runs all the way through, which would be the top of the bag. And from one dumpy bag you can make 2 bush chairs. so I've got a spare at home for my friend Davey if he wants it, or if I decide to make another camp somewhere. But you see, that's another example of recycling. Everything done on the cheap, the El Cheapo wild camper with the El Cheapo tarp, ground sheet, mat, and that old foam thing, which that's been here a few years because I used it last year. And a couple of pillars, a bit mouldy like, but should make for a comfortable night's sleep. I have been watching a guy on YouTube, Carlisle195 is his channel name, John Nicolum. He comes out in the woods, he makes some fantastic shelters. It's not just that, he's a chef, he produces some fine cuisine, you know, and it's not just bush food, you know, it's very proper dinners, man. He's amazing. I find that I'm watching his channel late at night, and then I'm sneaking downstairs to the fridge, raiding the fridge, because I'm not hungry after watching it. It's a little bit like, you know, when you go to the toilet and you stand there having a wee, and he's sort of like, there's a big guy next to you, and he's sort of like, you have a bit of a sideways glance as you do, and you can see that he's got a bigger toolbox than you, and you look down and all you've got is a pair of knuckles. Well, it's a bit like that. So I need to branch out, I need to up my game and start cooking some fine food. So I'm going to have a roast chicken dinner, roast potatoes, vegetables and gravy. I was going to bring a Yorkshire pudding and I totally forgot about it. But it's better than meatballs, isn't it? Get out. Will you get a pigeon?
Squirrel?
You can't find it now.
Oh, I can't. You leave it that.
Was that a headshot, was it? Hey, then that canny size when you get a look at them. I've been given that squirrel to cook for me supper, but I don't know how I'm going to eat it. I've got that full chicken as well. I'll not show any of the gutting or anything like that. I might just roast it over the fire, like on a skewer. Right, I've got to get this fire going. I'm going to use a flint and steel, some char cloth. I've got some birch bark, make a bit of a bundle. You see that? There we go. Pheasant down there. Didn't want to be around here earlier on when them two guys were here. Right, this is my oven. Got this big grill to put in. It doesn't go all the way in, but I think I have to bend the front of it down a little bit. But it's just a old tin I had lying around. I think it's important for the whatever you're baking not to be touching the sides because it's too hot. If it's on the grill, you know, it's going to be cooking underneath for the bottom as well. I think it's going to get more even temperature. If it's touching the sides, it's going to get burnt on the outside. I don't know if this is going to work. No, I've tried it before. So it's an experiment. May cook too high, may cook too low, but I'm going to give it a go anyway. It's already starting to get dark. Mr. Pheasant over there probably looking for somewhere to roost. Don't know how well you can see that, but here you go, there's my grill. Peel the tatties for me roasters. This is where it's at. Not that I need many. 2 or 3. Because I think the chicken's going to take up most of the plate. And I'm going to be feasting like a king tonight on chicken and squirrel. Canny combination, that like. Right, so I've got my oven in there heating up and hopefully burning that paint off. Have to die down a bit before I can start cooking on it, or in it I should say. I've got my chicken there, covered in black pepper and salt. Got lard, and I've got some, actually I'll put some of that in there for the potatoes. Already got olive oil mixed in, but I need to coat the potatoes with the oil, and that can go in the oven as well with the chicken. Hopefully they'll cook, be ready roughly the same time. And I've got my torch on a tripod there, so I got plenty of illumination. I think I'm gonna put that chicken in now, you know. I don't think that paint on the inside's gonna burn off. Don't know how well you can see that, but I've just got enough room to get everything in. Now to get the lid on and get it on the fire, and let's start cooking. I'm gonna need 2 bits, a bit more on the bottom. What I'll do is put a bit more wood, so I've got a good bed of fresh fuel as well, which will slowly burn. And if it gets too hot, it gets too hot. Like I say, it's an experiment, I've never done it before. Not sure how to regulate the heat. I don't want to keep moving it around when it's scorching hot. Here we go. I mean, that's going to die down anyway, so initially it may be very hot, but it will get a little bit cooler. I'm not sure what temperature that is, to be honest with you, inside the oven. Got no way of finding out. I suppose I'll be able to tell by the smell. If it smells like it's burning, I'll just have to move it. Got a bit of time on my hands now, so I think I'll skin that squirrel. Not looking forward to it, like. Well, it hasn't been on 5 minutes, and you can hear it bubbling away. I think I'm going to have to move it to a cooler part. You can see the flames, it looks like it's on fire. I think it is on fire, actually. So this is going to be hot. Do not try this at home. Well, now on a cooler part of the fire. I think I can't any question, it is a bit too hot. Right in the centre of the flames. Alright, this is where it's at, guys. Get out and do some wild camping. And I've skinned that squirrel. Wasn't a very nice job. So anybody who's a little bit squeamish, turn away now. Not very nice to look at, but there's some decent amount of meat on there. I think the chicken's a little bit on the high side. Been on for maybe an hour. I'm going to give it 2 hours and it should be more than done. What I think I'll do with that, I'll get a long piece of hazel and I'll skewer it and I'll just cook it over the fire. I suppose it just needs a few seconds in the flame just to sterilise it. What I might do, drop that. Yeah, I think that's the oil coat on fire. I've just wedged that piece of hazel in the fire reflector, and I've got on a cooler part of the fire, and I can just slowly turn it. It's either a leech or a small slug, but there's no need to eat stuff like that when I've got squirrel and roast chicken. Ah, it's not eating nuts now, is it? Yeah, I shouldn't laugh, you know, it's not funny. Wouldn't like to see like little cute furry animals getting killed, do I? But never mind chickens and things like that. As long as you detach yourself from it, you don't see it, it's out of mind. But it's the reality of life, isn't it? Things do have to be slaughtered for food. Yeah, it's not funny, but it's a necessity. I mean, I've done a lot of hunting in the past. You know, some of it just for sport, and to be honest with you, I didn't enjoy it. And to be honest with you, I would only kill an animal if I was going to eat it. Them days are over for me. Just, you know, shooting for sport. It's, in my heart, it just didn't feel right. I don't know about you guys, but I think that's done. I'm going to try it anyway. Smells a bit gamey. Came off no problem. Now let's say it tastes a bit like chicken. Well, it doesn't taste gamey, it smelled a bit gamey. It's obviously red meat. Just like, not sure what it's like really. Doesn't taste like steak. Similar texture to chicken. Similar taste actually, when you get past all the grit. Oh, absolutely lovely brown chicken. I was a bit apprehensive at first because, you know, they're lovable, cute animals, aren't they? But all joking aside, they are a serious pest. The great squirrels in this country. Oh, look at that. I think I cooked that to perfection. I only hope the chicken is as good as this. This brown chicken. tree rat. Roast chicken and tree rat. I'd pay good money in a restaurant for that. But I bet it doesn't taste as nice as it does when it's eaten in the woods on an open fire with the owls tweeting in the background, with you guys to keep me company. Carlisle 195, Judd, are you watching? This is where it's at. Very nice. Down 3 feet on its side. I think it may just be a little bit overdone. A bit crispy, but I think it'll be alright there. The chicken may be a different story. Oh no. Oh, yeah, me. No, I think I've killed it. I've nuked it. Although the breast meat doesn't look too bad, I'll still be able to pick at that. Looks like its legs have turned to charcoal. Maybe it'll start a fire with that. Never mind. We'll let that cool. Let that rest for a while. For eternity. Right, so all I need to do now is just get that water boiled for the gravy, heat the veg up, and try and salvage some of this chicken. What's left of the chicken anyway. Still get something off that. In fact, it may just be a bit of a crust. That's rock hard, that. You know, it is, that breast meat is absolutely lovely underneath that crust. Get the gravy slapped all over. That's a big gloopy. The only thing that's missing is Yorkshire pudding. Roast chicken and roast potatoes and vegetables. Albeit out of a tin. Not bad for my first attempt. But guys, I'm not going to complain at that. Yeah, I've got a really burnt potato. But once you get past that crust, that's fine. I'd probably get sacked if I try to sell somebody this in a restaurant, but when you're in the middle of the woods and the only alternative is slugs and worms and creepy crawlies, it's not a bad option. That's me finished for the night. I'll finish my coffee, then I'll turn in and I'll just lie and watch that fire till I fall asleep. And that catches all in the morning. Night night. Morning. I had a decent sleep last night. Wasn't cold at all. I think the temperature was forecast to go down to about 9 degrees Celsius. Kept hearing the other leaf hitting the top, which means autumn's finally here. Doesn't feel like autumn, it still feels like the summer we've had. If we get call it the summer, it's been quite a cool summer here in the UK. But I keep hearing scurrying around, whether it's the birds or... I did see a squirrel this morning, a small one, like a juvenile, which means, they are on the increase in these parts of the woods. I can hear something there now. We're surrounded by hazel and oak, so they'll be feeding on the acorns and the nuts. Right, I'm going to get packed away, clear up, and then I'm going to clear out of here. And maybe I'll see you all in the next one.